Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Wakefield Historical Commission meeting. At the meeting, we have Fran, Mark, and Kathlena, so we do have a quorum. We will start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Dan is not here, so it's on our agenda, so I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of
America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Now, we do have some guests. Do we have public participation? Okay, well, hearing none, we will move on to the review of the minutes from the last meeting on December 13th. Has everyone received those minutes?
Yes.
Were you able to review them? Do you have any
Yes.
changes or corrections or additions?
No edits.
Okay.
No.
A motion, can I have a motion to accept?
Motion to accept.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're just zooming through this Zoom meeting. So far. All right. We do have one invoice, an invoice from the Wakefield Item Company. This invoice is in the amount of $360 for the publication of the the notice of public hearing. So I need a motion to accept this invoice to be processed by the town.
I will make a motion to accept the $360 charge from the Wakefield item for the public hearing notice.
Okay, do I have a second?
I will second.
Any discussion?
No.
Nope.
No. Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, that has been accepted. Now with that, I must note that $360, which is what the public notice cost, is approximately 1/5 of the Historical Commission's annual budget. So, which is why our hands are really tied with regard to doing anything. We can't really spend our budget until the very end of the year, till we see if we have any money left over. And so, it's a difficulty. The problem, we tried to rectify this problem in 2018 by having the demolition delay bylaw revised. We went through the bylaw committee, and through some kind of a snafu, somehow or other, the whole bylaw never made its way to the Attorney General. So only half of it basically was revised. And so the rest of it needs to be sent to the Attorney General. I've tried working through town council on this and the town clerk's office, but have not been successful. So I don't know whether we go through the bylaw committee all over again. However, since this is a really significant charge to us, and really ties our hands, I think we almost have to. So what do you guys think? You got nothing?
So we would need to put it on the agenda for an upcoming town meeting for it to be accepted as a bylaw, or is it something that can be done with the town clerk?
I would hope that since it was already accepted as a bylaw, I would hope that it doesn't have to go through the town meeting over again.
Okay,
Basically, what happened was someone sent half of it instead of sending the whole thing on to be in the town meeting booklet. They only sent half of it. And when a representative of the bylaw committee presented this to the finance committee, as all articles have to be presented, my husband is actually on the finance committee, and he noticed that half of it was not there. And so because of that, the chairman of the bylaw committee at the town meeting stood up and read it manually, the whole entire thing, to rectify the problem. And the entire bylaw was accepted by the town meeting. However, it did not make its way through to the Attorney General, and the revision was not reflected in the minutes. So I don't know what's going to happen now, but clearly we need to have this this changed. When I told Sherry Dalton that this represented 1/5 of our budget, she was shocked and said, well, I always just, we have the applicant cover the cost, which is what we meant it to do. And so I think that we need to do that in the upcoming days or weeks. I don't know if we can get it on the agenda for the next town meeting, or maybe we go through the bylaw committee all over again, because this has been going on for 5 years now. Okay. We have a few minutes before the official start of the public hearing. So we may as well, I think it's not fair to start the public hearing early. Mr. McGrail, you're here on behalf of the petitioner. Ryan?
Yeah, hold on. I'm going to turn my camera on.
Okay.
Sorry, Madam Chair. No, I'm actually not here on that matter tonight.
Oh, my goodness.
Nope.
Okay.
I was here to see other matters if you were potentially going to discuss the correspondence I sent to you on 28 Lafayette Street. And maybe you haven't had a chance to look at that yet.
I did not see that, no. But
Oh,
under,
okay. Maybe I can talk to you about it on other matters, and then is that okay? Just on how to.
yeah, why don't we do that? Why don't
Yeah.
we do that? Since you're here, you got 7 minutes.
Oh, you want me to do that now?
Yeah,
Oh, great. So, thank you, Madam Chair. So I represent Lawrence Stern and Brian Prue. They own property at 28 Lafayette Street, which is on the significant property list. It's a beautiful home. They bought it as an historic home. They want to maintain it as an historic home. They've run into a situation that there's an addition on the back of the house that has structural issues and needs to be taken down and rebuilt. But they're not going to touch the main house. They're just going to, and I can show you some plan of that if you'd like. And basically respecting the demolition delay bylaw, where they are entirely taking down that rear portion, which was an addition. I wanted to bring it to your attention. Because, they could just apply for a building permit and, because that's what they will do. It probably won't be a demolition permit. It would probably be all built into a building permit. But in speaking to them, where that whole addition is being completely raised, we thought it would be appropriate to bring it to your attention to make a determination, A, whether you think the demolition bylaw applies, and potentially B, even if it does, that you don't have an issue with it, because they're actually, as I said, they're maintaining the historic structure. And I can, if I may, I have kind of an elevation that shows you exactly what they're doing. And I could share that. And if we don't have time, I'm happy to hang on until the end and do that. That would be helpful to you and the commission to get a real picture of what's actually happening here.
I am not very good at sharing the screen, so I'm not sure that.
Okay, let
I-
me,
In the
I think I can
available
do it.
time.
Hold on a second, Nancy. Okay. I'm gonna try to do it. So the only way you can do it is if you click
Make you a
on my name
co-host.
and make me co-host. Then I'll be able to share it. So if you go next to my name, that 3-dot box, you would click on the, there you go. So can you see that?
You know, we do see that.
There you go.
However, I think to make a snap judgment here is not.
Oh, I'm not,
necessarily-
I don't need a snap judgment.
Okay.
But you know, I'm not, I just kind of want to let you know what's going on, Nancy, and then if we need to
Uh-huh.
come back, we can. But so what's happening here, this is 28 Lafayette Street. This is the existing house. And basically, as you can see, this is an outline of an addition on the back of it.
Right,
And that's the addition that they want to raise, and then they're going to reconstruct. But they're not touching the main body of the house. So you won't even be able to see what's happening here from the street, really, to a certain degree.
we, in cases like this in the past, we have not necessarily upheld the demolition delay on
Yep.
additions.
Yep, and this is the house, and you can kind of, and just to give you this really gives you a really good flavor of what's happening here. So this is the back portion where they're going to take it down and then on, but the main is staying. And I'll go right to the elevations just to cut to the chase. So this is the existing conditions from Lafayette Street. It's kind of got this awkward little connector. I think this was an addition at one point. And so that's the existing. And that's what they're proposing. So you can see the main house is not being touched. They're just connecting it on the second level, which I think, in my opinion, will look better.
Okay,
They're
yeah.
filling in that gap. So that's the change of the look on the front. But again, this isn't being touched. This is the west elevation. So this is the front. This is the addition on the back, or this is the existing addition on the back. And then the proposed addition, they're going to make it 2 stories, but it connects to the existing house. But what's happening here, and the reason I wanted to bring it to your attention, respecting the process, is this existing addition in the back is being completely raised to the ground, and they're going to pour a new foundation. So there's a certain aspect of this that demolition is involved.
Right,
And where it is on the list, I thought it appropriate to bring it to you and talk to you guys about how you want to deal with it. So that's what's happening.
okay, well, we appreciate that.
Yep.
So if you would,
I can forward these to you again, Nancy, if you'd like.
yeah, I did not receive them.
Okay, should I, maybe I don't have a current email address. I
Send
sent
it to Historical Commission,
that. Okay, I did not send it there. Yep,
okay, at wakefield.ma.us.
got it.
Okay,
Okay, so I'll do
And-
that, Nancy. And once you have a chance to look at it, if you could let me know how you want us to proceed, that'd be great. And we're happy to come back and make a more detailed presentation with the architect, whatever you need. If you want to do a site visit to see it, that's fine too.
okay.
right.
In all likelihood, we will take it up again at our next meeting on, I think will be February 21st.
That's fine. We're going to the zoning board tomorrow night, but we're certainly not going to start any construction until we resolve this with you.
Okay,
Okay?
all right,
What date is that, Nancy?
the 21st.
Okay. I'll send these to you tomorrow. Thank you for the time. I appreciate it very much.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
All right.
You finished up exactly on time for us to start our public hearing. Welcome, Counselor Dombrowski. Glad to see you could make it. And do we have representatives of the petitioner on tearing down 6 Cordis Street?
Good evening, Madam Chair. James Cattuso, President from JCG Investments. I'm here for the call this evening. How are you?
Fine. So 6 Cordis Street is a structure that has been ruled both architecturally and historically significant to the town of Wakefield. Does apply, it does appear on our list of historic structures. You wouldn't believe I got these papers all in order today, and here they are, all in a mess. The L of the building was actually built circa 1790, which some of you may know, actually predates a large portion of the Hartshorn House. So it's quite old for Wakefield. And it was the L of the building actually stood on the lake shore where it was used by a lady named Josephine Courtney, a lady of color who used it. She was a laundress and she did the laundry in the lake. It was then sold on to Jonathan Emerson and moved to its present location in the 1830s or the 1850s. The bulk of the building was built between 1835 and 1847. So the structure is actually important historically to the town. Mr. Gattuso, do you have any, would you consider preserving the building, any portion of the building?
Yeah, so I did look into that with, multiple architects. I did talk to Peter Sandors at Phoenix and a couple other architects that are pretty savvy with, historical properties like this. And based on the current foundation and how that house was moved there, they don't foresee it being feasible to kind of restore it. We did go through a process of schematic design, trying to add on to a portion, but I'm not sure if you had the opportunity to recently pass by there, but there is a granite block foundation on top of some other rubble, and that structure, from my understanding, was not poured on a footing. Any part of the whole house. They further evaluated that the back part of the house, the addition part where the deck sits, is completely in structural disrepair. And we have looked into it, and we have craftily kind of created a replica of that house. It's a very modest house with very similar architectural lines that look very much so like the house that's there. But we did do a pretty hefty analysis on, the current building. I am familiar with how it was moved there. But after probably about 3 to 4 months of weighing out the options, they kind of recommended to, maybe go in a different direction. But I am familiar with many of the details with the house. And I did do a pretty intensive analysis on trying to restore it.
The L of the house is the part of the house that is most historically important to us, not only because it relates to our people of color population. Also, it relates to the shoemaking industry, which was locally so important to Wakefield. And on top of everything else, a lot of work was done on the house by a gentleman named Galvin, who actually was the father of our General Galvin. So it's got everything wrapped up in one in this house. And that's why it's so important to us to try to maintain even a portion of the house. I understand that you looked into it. You tried to come up with an alternative that would save it. But I feel that, well, let me open it up to the commission. Does anyone else have a question for the petitioner, Mr. Gattuso? No one?
Did you look into whether or not the house could be lifted and have the foundation poured and then put the house back down on it?
I did not look into that. I didn't look into that. Not to go into too many details, but unfortunately that property went through a foreclosure process. And it's been long in disrepair. Unfortunately, the former owners passed away, and it's been, tenanted, and it's been really abused over the last 6 or 7 years as it's been in foreclosure. And it's been long in disrepair, but I did not look into trying to pick it up and move it. That wasn't really evaluated. The topography of the lot is extremely challenging. I've been told that there's perhaps maybe some ledge on that front hillside. It's pretty substantially raised up on Quarter Street. But half of the house is rotted out. I don't know if you saw on the west side, but all the siding is totally falling apart. The interior stud walls are rotted out. There's substantial infestation by rodents, squirrels, raccoons. And I've been told this firsthand from neighbors that live on all sides of that property.
Okay, anyone else? Ed?
I guess if I could just ask, Madam Chair, if there is to be any sort of deconstruction of the property, are there any elements or pieces of the property that could in any way be preserved, not necessarily on that site, but just generally that may have architectural significance?
Yes, so I don't have it present this evening, but we had a very tasteful architect design a house that looks very similar with architectural lines to the house that's there today. That lot is pre-existing non-conforming. It's obviously in the single-family residential district, the SR district. It will appear before Zoning Board of Appeals, probably within the next 30 to 45 days. But the house that will be presented to the Zoning Board of Appeals will be very architecturally similar to what you see there today. The house is very modest for that neighborhood. I did obviously take into consideration that the lot is small and that the house that will be built will be similar to the other homes in that direct neighborhood.
I think that's important. I guess the other piece to that is there anything within the home that may not be necessarily intact or worthy of preservation that could at least be saved or salvaged from the home because it has historical significance? And I'm not saying to incorporate it into the new building you're proposing, but instead, are there certain elements to the property that could maybe be made available to the town or in some way of being able to preserve them even offsite?
Unfortunately, most of the property, including like the interior, is extremely run down. Without going into too much detail, the former owners, they actually passed away and their son was living there. And there was numerous people living there almost in a rooming house fashion. And, much of the woodwork and a lot of the substantial architectural features are, completely destroyed and very used and abused. But certainly I would make, first priority to either contributing something to the town or, if things do appear to be, salvageable or, could be contributed to the society, I definitely would do that when that time, comes along.
It just seems like there would be inherent, value to that because of the historical significance that Nancy has so appropriately, described. So if there are
Even-
doors or door handles or, I'm just kind of thinking, wall sconces or anything else, that may have been, may have withstood a lot of the stripping down of the property over the years. I mean, I think that would probably be an important priority for this commission, I would imagine. I'll defer to the commission on that.
That's something that I would be certainly more than happy to either reach out to you or we could even possibly do a walkthrough when the property's vacated. And if you'd like to do a walkthrough or if, we find anything or that's certainly, appealing to the commission, I would love to, contribute it back or have that preserved, and have that preserved.
I'm thinking more than anything else, the L of the property, is extremely historically sensitive to us, regardless of what condition it's in. I did know the owners of the property, the late owners, Harry and Marie Kraus. They were very well known and important people in the community. And because of all the work on it that was done by General Galvin's parents or his father, the general was the Supreme Allied Commander of NATO for a long time. And once he had retired from that position, he took a position at Tufts. And every year or so, he would host a contingent of Russian generals who would come to the town and visit. And he would conduct a tour of the town and always went to that house because General Galvin was a historian himself. He wrote several books, several histories, and to him, that house was extremely historically significant. So because of that historical significance, I'm going to recommend that we enforce the demolition delay. But if in the meantime, Mr. Gattuso, if you can come up with maybe documenting the L, having your architect do that, or taking photographs of it for our archives, or if there are things that could be salvaged from it, we might be able to see fit with not enforcing the whole run of it. But we would obviously have to vote on that.
The comment, please, Madam Chairman, Jim Cronin, Iron Street. The current tenant property, he's actually the descendant of Harry and Marie Kraus. He's not using the property as a rooming house, as Mr. Gattuso has expressed. Quite frankly, he has a family, his girlfriend and her children living with him at the current time. The house been in foreclosure for approximately a little over 3 years. I don't believe that this is a property that we need to tear down in Wakefield. So many properties have been torn down and look so historically significant. And this one, sitting in such a precarious spot, partially above our lake, certainly deserves at least a little bit of research. I've heard representations about architects and engineers, but I've seen no documentation. When Mr. McGrail was at the meeting, he showed us documents of a property that hasn't even been started yet. Yet we've seen no evidence that he's actually had architects or anyone look into tearing this house down or whether it needs to be torn down. It would be nice if Mr. Gattuso would bring to the table some of the information from the various people who said look into this and show us why the house needs to be torn down. It certainly has a significant value to Wakefield. Thank you.
Your input is welcome, Jim. I didn't catch your last name, Cronin?
Ronan.
Cronin, okay. Maybe Mr. Gattuso, maybe you would like to come to our next meeting with that kind of information. How do you feel about that?
I think that my position stands. I've done my research. I've been the record owner of the house now for numerous months. I've done my research and I know the research I've completed. And my position as stands, and as I expressed in a very sincere way, I've gone through schematic designs, through GIS, through having sketches done, numerous different aspects. I did a lot of research in the fact how the house was moved there. Wakefield's recently adopted a HERS rating statute, and with my goal for that property is to preserve the architectural significance of it with a new home that's going to be placed there.
Right, but it might be architecturally the same, but it would not be historically the same. Can I have what does the commission feel about this? Individual members, do you want to speak up?
So
Uh,
I,
go ahead.
Nancy, right, go ahead.
I just wanted to emphasize on the fact that it would be nice if you, Mr. Gattuso, could try and save the L of the building somehow to incorporate at least some part of that historical integrity.
So at
And
this
I'll-
time, yeah, I agree with you that we should put the demolition delay, for the next 6 months.
Can I have a motion to that effect? So moved, anyone?
Do you want me to make the motion?
Yeah, I do need somebody
Okay.
to make a motion.
Okay, so I would motion that the Historical Commission puts the demolition delay 6 month into effect for this property, 6 Cordis.
Okay, and could we amend that slightly to say that if the owner were able to maintain that small L in some way, we would revisit the delay?
That's fine, I don't object to that.
Okay. So that's the motion as it stands. Is there any discussion? Okay, can I have a second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
I,
Okay. All right, Mr. Gattuso, we appreciate the sincerity with which you approach the project. However, our decision has to stand on the house's historical importance in its signature location. And if you are able to preserve that L, you would be doing a service to the town of Wakefield, in my opinion, and the Historical Commission would revisit the delay.
And Nancy, I'm going to go back to the architects and see if we can, incorporate and implement some of the L and try to, go back and, really try to incorporate that aspect and, pay closer attention to it. I'm going to reach out to them tomorrow morning about that.
That is wonderful news. Thank you so much for doing that. And with that, unless there is an objection, I'll bring the public hearing portion of this program to a close. Okay. All right, moving on to historic structures. The Soldiers and Sailors Monument, also known as the Civil War Monument, did receive a visit from the Daedalus Company, restoration specialist. They're going to, with the aid of a $10,000 grant or $10,000 money funds allocated by the town council. They're doing a reassessment of the Soldiers and Sailors Monument. And we will find out what it needs for its complete and total restoration. The 2007 assessment indicated that it could cost up to $250,000, but that was in 2007. So, of course, things change, technologies change, and but it's a great start in the direction of finding out what we would need to do to preserve the Civil War Monument, which is on the National Register of Historic Places, and deservedly so. And in other historic structures, the AmeriCal Civic Center is a tremendously important building to the town, and it is hard to heat that guy because it is so big. It is huge. I was on the board of the AmeriCal Civic Center Association for a long time, and it was really a struggle for a nonprofit to raise the money to heat the AmeriCal. Because of that, the town is thinking of possibly using solar panels on the roof in order to defray the cost of heating the AmeriCal. What do you think about that?
Traditional panels, or are they thinking about the panels that are, you know, they're like electrically battery packed together and they look like a tiled roof?
Well, we haven't gotten that far yet. I was approached by the buildings manager who wanted to just find out if we were okay with the solar idea at all.
Nancy, is this the building with the skylights?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, visually, the way that it peaks, you would see that from both Armory and from the Galvin.
right.
It's not like they could be hidden on the backside of the building.
Right, but more and more historic structures, churches, etc., are bowing to the technology. But as you say, Fran, have you researched this at all? Do you know if there is a way to make them less visually obtrusive?
I don't know the industry. I do know that they are working to make it so that it actually is incorporated into the shingle,
Mhm.
and it's not the big black square that's visible.
Well, I have to say that everything that the town has done with roofs, like on the Lincoln School and the Warren School, which were tile roofs, were all done very, very carefully. And I would hope that this solar idea would show that same care. Ed, do you know if this idea has been brought to the town council yet?
It has not.
Okay, so it seems to me that Fran's idea is a good one, that it needs to be incorporated in the shingle somehow, so it's not visually obtrusive. What does everyone think?
Yeah, Nancy, I've seen it I've seen something like what Francine's mentioned, but they're very expensive. I think just from past experience, they're almost double in price than the standard solar panels. I think what everybody's thinking about. Not only that, but you might want to look at, does it, destroy the integrity of the roof? Once you start putting solar panels on a roof, again, past experiences, we've had some leaks. So just a couple of other things to think about or question.
Right. Maybe we can have Chris Pierce come to our next meeting and we can talk to him about it directly. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Okay.
And do they have to go on the roof? I mean,
Well,
I'm thinking about the back side of the building
right.
is the side that nobody sees. Is there some way that it can be done over there?
And see, that's an excellent question. And so, and that's something that I think it would be best for us to ask Chris Pierce.
Okay.
Okay. All right, good. Now, we have another issue on a person wanting to tear down a building. And this building is 361 Salem Street. The building may date from the 1770s. And on the strength of this, I think we need to have a public hearing on this on February 21st. Is anyone with me on this, or?
I'm sorry, can 361?
361 Salem Street.
Okay. And what was the date you had?
The date I have is between, the original building was built there between 1765 and 1776. It's in the Georgian vernacular Greek revival style. It is on our list. It was owned originally by Captain John Swain, a name that was tremendously important to the town's history, the son of John Swain. And so there were fires during the period, so we don't know if all of this building dates to the 1770s or if some of it dates to the 1840s. How a man named Stowell owned the building in 1857, and he worked as a shoe leather cutter. The shoe industry was very important to the town, but the structure itself, even though it's a modest structure, 1770s, we don't have that many 1770s buildings left.
Do you want a
Public-
motion?
Yeah,
Okay, I'll make the motion that we have a public hearing on February 21st was the date you said? For the
Right.
next, yep, regarding 361 Salem Street.
okay. Second,
I second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we're gonna have a jam-packed agenda on February 21st. What with Mr. McGrail coming back to see us again. And possibly, who knows, Mr. Gattuso may. Let's hope something can be saved from that 6 Quarter Street. Are there any other matters before the commission? Anything anybody wants to bring up? No? Okay, well then I'll enter, oh, Ed, Yep.
Sorry, I guess I'll just add that we had gone through budgeting with the historical commission, and a couple things that I want to just flag. When you have these hearings, those are expenses that can be assigned to the applicant. And I don't know that the commission is currently doing that, but I think that would be an important thing to consider going forward. And the other piece is I raised at the town council, I guess last night, the fact that the commission was perhaps interested in going in a few different directions with some historical markers or other historical enhancements across town, and so likely come under capital expenditures as compared with just the regular operating budget. So if there are particular things that the commission is looking to do, certain initiatives, I'm happy to work with you on that and to make sure that we can secure the funding to realize those initiatives. So I know I'd heard kind of more like, some ideas in the abstract, but, Nancy or, whoever you want to designate, if there are particular things that the commission wants to focus on going forward, then I'll work on the budgeting side of things to make sure we can finance it.
We appreciate that. You were not at the very beginning where we actually addressed this. We can't assign the cost to the applicant because it's not spelled out in our bylaw.
Right, but we that's an easy thing at town meeting. We could have that. We could have a bylaw pass a town meeting on that.
Yeah, we're going to have to do that because the current charge from the item is $360, which comes up to about 1/5 of our annual budget. Because of that, we can't really do anything. We can't really spend our money until the end of the year. Anything that would be more or less discretionary. And all that we've ever been able to do, really, outside of being able to put up a couple of historical markers that we saved up for all year, has been joining associations, a couple of associations for a very modest fee. So we are going to revisit this bylaw situation. I'll give you some of the background of it. I can send you the history of the demolition delay bylaw so that you'll know about it. It has had a turbulent past, believe it or not.
So with that, if there are particular initiatives, if it's expanding, the historical markers program to have more robust around town, if there are other things that the commission is interested in doing, just let me know that so that I can work to secure the funding on that. That's what I'm really interested in doing that. But I want to make sure that I'm advocating the priorities of this commission to make sure we get that done.
Absolutely, we appreciate that. Okay, is there anything else?
I think your commission is undervalued, and that more exposure.
I'm sorry, Jim, we can't hear you.
What I was saying is, I think you have a lot more people at your meeting with a little more exposure, because this is a historic property that everyone walks by and sees, and I think people are generally going to be upset when they see it torn down.
Okay, the notice of public hearing was published in the item as it needs to be. And it also was on the agenda on all the emails that went out from the town. But your point is well taken, Jim. I do think that we need to let people know about what's happening with our historic structures. And we certainly appreciate your attention and your appreciation of our history and coming to the meeting. So thank you. Okay. All right. Now, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Sure, I'll make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting at 8:20.
Fran is our mover. Second,
I second.
okay, all in favor.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone. See you
Thank you.
on February 21st.
All right, have a good night.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.
Thank you.
Bye.